Dinner tonight as well. You'll see my alter ego. I'd like to think this is my alter ego, and my main ego you're going to see tonight is I'll be doing the astronomy talk for you. Hopefully it's going to stay clear. I'm really risking the wrath of the gods saying it, but we'd like to not even mention it because the weather can come in. But I think it'll be okay today. It's going to be a nice day actually for you. So, but the main thing I'm doing with you this morning is the Aboriginal culture tour. I'm going to be telling you about our Aboriginal people. You would have seen them on the way in there when you're coming on the coach. See them there, they're having their breakfast, and some of them are doing a bit of artwork as we speak. Now, probably I've seen the gentleman here with the very intimidating camera there, mate. It's a beauty. I will mention about the photography. It's a good opportunity for me to mention about photography. Our people here, they don't mind if you take images from a distance, that's fine. What they don't really like is people taking images up close, either of them or the artwork, up close without asking. We've had issues in the past. Some people will come out and then they've gone home and put stuff on the internet and stuff like that without our people's permission, and yeah, they don't like it, and understandably. So we just try and respect their wishes that way. But yeah, from a distance, if you want to get images of the site, like from a distance, that's not a problem. Not a big issue at all. Now I mentioned with water, your water bottles, we've got a tub of water just over the other site. Once the other group there move on, they're going to be out of there fairly shortly. Once they do that, we'll head over there and we'll have some morning tea, and you'll have a chance to fill up your bottles if you need to. And there's another water tub down the other end of the site, so please drink water if you need to. The weather's not particularly hot, but you really don't want to be getting dehydrated. It's really important to keep that hydration up. The other probably main important thing I need to mention, housekeeping wise, is the bathrooms, or pretty important. Well, fellas, if you need to do what you need to do, some of the fellas, you can water a tree, dare I say. But if you don't feel like doing that, and I know the ladies probably don't feel like doing that, so the ladies, there's two facilities. There's one just here, a tall building there with a green top on it. That's the nearest bathroom, and there's another one just over the other side as well. So that there's two toilets, ladies. If you do need to use them, they are there. Okay. And they're quite nice and clean. I'd even use them myself. There you go. That's how good they are. That's facilities. As I said, we'll be having some morning tea shortly. Once the other group head off, we'll head over there and have some morning tea. But the main thing I want to do with you now is just give you an introductory sort of idea of some of the aspects of the Aboriginal culture, and particularly pertaining to the people you'll meet today, who are the Warlpiri people. Because here in Alice Springs, we're in the middle of Australia. There's a number of different Aboriginal groups that sort of come through here. There's three main resident groups, like three main language groups that are resident here in this area. The Warlpiri you'll meet today, also the Aranda people and the Pitjantjatjara people. Now, have you folks already been to the Rock, or you're heading down there next? No. You're going there next, yeah, in a day or two, yeah, heading down to the Rock. Down there, you'll be going more into the Pitjantjatjara area, but they do come up as far as here. Alice Springs is like bit of a melting pot, bit of a meeting place, always has been for many, many, many years. But the people you'll meet today are the Warlpiri people. So their area, well, probably easiest I show you on a map, and I'll do that shortly. But before I do that, I should go back probably a step and give you an idea of how Aboriginal people came to be here in Australia, because it's a very interesting story, and it's something that it's only relatively recent times the scientists have actually worked out how it occurred. They had some suspicions about how it happened, but looking at all the archaeological evidence and genetic studies and various lines of evidence, they worked out that the Aboriginal people had migrated through southern part of Asia and to come here to Australia, and just by carbon dating some of the implements they've found, like up north they found things like canoes, old canoes and tools and things like that, weapons and things the Aboriginal people had, and they carbon dated those, and they got an age of roughly around 40,000 years. So we know the Aboriginal people have been here at least that long. Some of the anthropologists argue that they might have been here even a bit earlier than that, but just the physical evidence suggests at least 40,000 years, maybe a bit longer. and as I said, they would have migrated from the southern part of Asia. But where exactly? It was only with the genetic studies they were able to nail that down. Because this group of scientists, this is about probably 15 years ago now, they did this genetic study. They took blood samples from various indigenous peoples around the world, including the Native American people, by the way. They would have the same thing. And they studied these samples for what they call genetic markers in the blood. That sort of ties where you sort of originally originate from. And interestingly, with the Australian Aboriginal people, their bloodline ties very closely to people from the Sri Lanka, southern India area. You might have heard of people called the Tamil people. Have you heard of people called the Tamils?
Mm-hmm.
Tamil people, yeah. Been in the media of recent years because there's been a bit of conflict in that part of the world. And yeah, I'd heard of them before. And yeah, our Aboriginal people seem to be very closely tied genetically to those people. Very interesting, really. And they would have probably migrated, as I said, thousands of years ago through the southern part of Asia, probably island hopped through Indonesia, that there sort of area, and come into northern Australia first. I can imagine like coming across the water like that and coming into northern Australia. The climate up there is tropical, so they probably would have felt quite at home in a way because the animals would have been similar, climate similar. You can live on the coast, not a bad lifestyle really. You could hunt and fish, and water's relatively abundant, not a problem. You might even think, well, why did they bother spreading across the rest of Australia? It would have been pretty good just to stay there. But I'd imagine over thousands of years what happened was you'd have waves of different migration coming through, so different groups were coming through over the time, and people pressure in some areas, so the people basically spread out across Australia to find their own sort of area to live. And coming and living in this part of Australia would have been quite a challenge because living out here in the desert country, obviously water's a pretty crucial thing. You need to be able to find water to survive, but not only that, you've got to be able to eat something. So you need to, what do you eat? Well, the Aboriginal people were very intuitive and very clever on that sort of thing because they would have watched the native animals, watched what they were doing, watched what they were eating. They were thinking, well, if the animals can eat it, chances are we can too. Excuse me, there would have been a bit of trial and error, dare I say, because there are some plants around that are quite poisonous too, so you have to be careful. But over time they learned how to live off the land. It was very challenging though. It really presented an enormous challenge to them, even being resourceful as they were. And basically they lived in small family groups. That's how they managed to survive on this sort of country here. You wouldn't see a group of Aboriginal people the size of your group here today. Way too big. Because again, the scientists have studied this. They've worked out for living in this area, every one person would need to cover, like hunt and gather, over about 3 to 4 square miles per day to survive. Yeah, imagine that. Like one person needs that amount of area to walk, to gather the plants, hunt the animals, all that sort of thing, get enough water. 3 to 4 square miles a day. You imagine a group this size, you're going to have to cover one heck of an area. It's just going to be physically impossible to live that way. So that's why they only lived in small groups. So probably about a dozen people, maybe 15. That'd be about it. Once the group got bigger than that, they would then split and go separate ways. So what happened over time is the groups became, because of the physical isolation too, the languages became all different dialects within the languages, and different language groups developed. And so over time Australia became like a patchwork. And probably easier if I show you on the map now what I mean.